And I'm with Mary Martinez, Monica Rodriguez, and former Councilmember Mitchell Englander. We're here to tell everyone that we love Joe Buscaino. We're so proud of him for being our colleague and the president of the 2019-2020 National League of Cities. Joe, congratulations.
I'm Jay Buscaino. I've been married to Joe for nearly 2 decades. And even before we were a thing, I had always known Joe as the Mayor of San Pedro, even as a kid, an early teen. So he's always been everywhere. He chose to be the TA of a special ed class. You know, kids can choose whatever they want as an elective. And Joe has the heart where he chose to be with the special ed kids.
My name is Pat Gannon. I'm retired Deputy Chief from the Los Angeles Police Department. My association with Joe Buscaino goes back many, many years. Joe was a rec assistant. I can remember one time in particular during an adult softball league that I was actually participating in. There was a large argument. The guy got out of control, and here was 19-year-old Joe Buscaino coming up to this adult, dealing with him in a very professional way, and eventually kicking him out of the game, and the guy leaves without any problems. I said, this guy has what it takes to be a Los Angeles police officer. And one of the best things that ever happened to LAPD was that Joe Buscaino joined our force.
I'm Sergeant Catherine Plows. I am the officer in charge of the Los Angeles Police Department Harbor Division Community Relations Office. I met Joe Buscaino in 1993. We were young policemen working community affairs. 14 years later, in 2006, I would come to Harbor Division, and Joe was the senior lead for San Pedro. And as a senior lead, he was so passionate about his community. It really just epitomized the heart behind the badge. The one thing that Joe did during his tenure as a senior lead officer was to create the Teen Police Community Advisory Board. It was something that has yet to be matched, but it also served as a benchmark for the entire city.
My name is Gabriel Maldonado, and I was a founding board member of Councilman Joe Buscaino's Teen Community Police Advisory Board. Before Teen CPAB, I didn't know who I was, what I was good at, or what I believed in. Today, to be the chief executive of a nonprofit, an LGBT activist, a fighter for health equity, a person committed to my community, these are all principles that Teen CPAB gave me, values that Joe gave me, values that he's given so many youth today.
I am Salvador Lara. I'm the founder of the program Clean Wilmington. Councilman Buscaino founded the program with the equipment that we use to clear 100 tons of trash. Without his help, we could not clean 100 tons of trash from the community every year.
My name is Mona Sutton, and this is my wife Leslie.
When we met Joe 14 years ago, and he was our senior lead officer for the area of our business corridor, we knew at that time that Joe was a star.
He really had a very unique opportunity to dig into a community and use that skill set that he learned in a very difficult and very surly and demanding community such as San Pedro and beyond, to now enable him to really be an amazing city councilman for us.
My name is Donny Joubert, Vice President of the Washington Taskforce. I remember when we first found out he was running for the councilman. When he won, we were shocked. We didn't think he was going to work out being a cop. And so he showed us that he really cared. He cared about the community. He was the best that we have seen coming through this community. We love this guy. This guy works hard for our community, and we're going to continue to work with him and make things right.
The work of building a stronger, more equitable Los Angeles takes courage, conviction, and compassion. And as mayor, I am blessed to work along someone who possesses all of those qualities. And that's Councilmember Joe Buscaino. I've known Joe for many years, and from day one, it has been clear to me that Joe is that rare leader who places service before self and who acts with urgency. We've stood shoulder to shoulder on so many defining issues, from raising our minimum wage to confronting our homelessness and housing crisis. And Joe was one of the first to step up and support my Bridge Home program, adding not just one, not two, but 3 emergency shelters in his district. Great leaders are judged not by what they say, but what they do. And Joe's actions are a reminder to us all that he's an exceptional, no-nonsense, get-the-job-done leader. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce you to my friend and your new president, Los Angeles City Council member, Joe Buscaino.
Come on, Nelsie. Let me hear you. There you go. Woo! Wow. Thank you to those who took part in that incredible video. Colleagues, the thing that makes me most proud today is that 45 years ago, as my mother was bringing me home from the hospital after giving birth, Los Angeles' legendary mayor, Tom Bradley, was taking the helm as president of National Leagues of Cities. Tom Bradley served from 1973 to 1993, an era in which Los Angeles was transformed from a collection of suburban neighborhoods to what Mayor Bradley liked to call a world-class city, a place with a striking new skyline and a vibrant downtown. In the Tom Bradley years, Los Angeles surpassed Chicago to become the second largest city in the country. And before he was mayor, Tom Bradley was a council member in LA. And before he was a council member, he was an LAPD officer. So, to be up here today following the footsteps of a legendary LA figure is the honor of my lifetime. I ran for city council while I was an LAPD officer, just like Tom Bradley did, because I saw problems in my community that weren't being solved quickly enough. I represent waterfront communities that lost several industries over the last few decades, and my communities were lacking economic redevelopment. Now, as you all know, colleagues, a loss in economic development created less community engagement, fewer community amenities, and fewer things to celebrate. My focus was to bring investment and vibrancy back into our communities. Now, I know many of you have a similar story. We hold our offices because we care deeply about the safety of our communities, opportunities in our communities, and quality of life in our communities. But we also know that democracy is slow and that all of us face challenges in creating positive change. This is why the foundation of my platform as the new president of National League of Cities focuses on leading with a sense of great urgency. And I spent the first 15 years of my career on the front line of public safety as an LA police officer, where I learned the need for urgent response. And while I saw the city respond to public safety emergencies with incredible urgency and coordination, I grew frustrated watching the pace to which we responded to other city problems. Now, we can all get a police car or ambulance on scene under 5 minutes, but getting a broken sidewalk fixed, right, took over 70 years in LA. Now, like many of you here today, we are all on the front line of every issue in our community. And I lead with that sense of urgency because the challenges we face in cities, towns, and villages can't wait. And as your president, I would lead this organization the same way. And there are 3 areas where urgent local leadership is needed now more than ever. It starts with the most basic human need, shelter. My staff and I often say that it's all homelessness all the time. It's something that I focus on every waking hour in my home district. The children who go home to an RV after school. The LGBTQ teenagers who are sleeping on a friend's couch because they were kicked out of their home. The mothers and fathers raising their families in the backseat of a car. The people struggling with mental illness and suffering from addiction. the seniors who are sleeping on the streets instead of aging in place. This year's homeless count told us that there are nearly 4,000 veterans living on LA streets. There are more than 15,000 homeless students in the LA Unified School District. The number of individuals who are experiencing homelessness is at a crisis level. And I don't have to be the one to tell you, it's not just in Los Angeles. It's in small towns, big cities. It's in rural areas and buzzing urban centers. It's in coastal communities and in the heartland. Homelessness looks a little different everywhere, but it's a crisis we have no choice but to solve. It's a crisis where we must lead with urgency. And in my district, I've done that, as you heard, by building 500 permanent supportive housing units and expediting the build-out of 1,000 new public housing units. Last week, I opened the first of 3 temporary emergency shelters, which will soon total 300 beds. And we're building a homeless storage facility in addition to the mobile restrooms and mobile showers we've made available to those living on our streets. But still, colleagues, it's not enough. While LA has planned and financed over 7,000 units of permanent supportive housing, I'm very afraid that we're not building them quick enough. And this is why I'm petitioning our governor to declare a state of emergency on homelessness so that we can bypass some of the regulatory steps that slow down the building process in a time where we must build much faster. Just as police officers and firefighters are authorized to exceed the speed limit and run the red lights when responding to emergencies, we need to give the same authority to other public servants responding to homelessness. And for my 15th council district in LA, these solutions and actions have made a difference. And there's more that I'm working on each and every day. But there might be a little different in Seattle or Cincinnati or St. Louis, and that's okay. It's why every one of us has to lead with the urgency on this issue in our own unique way, in a way that meets the crisis where it exists. And as your president, I would like to work together to create a best practices playbook to help you address homelessness with the menu of options for you to choose what will work best in your respective communities. We'll learn from each other, we'll support each other, and we'll make progress together. It's a life or death issue. We must lead with urgency. Issue number 2, the federal-local partnership. Now, it's something that, as we all know, we're focused on the National League of Cities, advocating at the federal level for all of our communities on issues like infrastructure, CDBG, housing and disaster recovery. If it happens in a city, town, or village, we're telling Congress and the administration to work with us to address it. But, colleagues, 2020 is different. It's a presidential election year, and that means our country is going to feel even more divided than it does today. We already see it flooding our TV screens and social media feeds. The narrative of division is everywhere. And that's where we come in as local elected leaders. We must keep presidential candidates focused on the issues that matter most to us as local leaders. We must demand that they work with us to build sustainable infrastructure, to create a skilled workforce, to end housing instability and homelessness, to reduce gun violence and promote public safety, right? We know, all of us in this room know the biggest challenges facing American communities. We lead with urgency day in and day out to solve them. Now, what we have to do, we have to make sure everything we can do to ensure federal leaders, and especially the next president of the United States, is focused on solving them with us. That's why we created the bipartisan 2020 Presidential Election Taskforce of local officials. You heard in our opening session from my own mayor and friend, Eric Garcetti, who is co-chairing along with the mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez. I look forward to working with them and the entire task force to advance the Leading Together platform in 2020. 2020 is going to be a big year, but we can't get distracted by rhetoric. We don't have time for that. The federal-local partnership has never been more critical. Let's strengthen it and lead with urgency together. Issue number 3, our local economies and the people who power them. For too many Americans, the high-tech global economy is a source of anxiety. Millions of workers fear factory closures and displacement from automation. These technological changes can understandably be seen as a threat to workers and communities. There's no community in our country that has escaped the pressures of globalization and emerging technologies. Already, 4 million manufacturing jobs have been automated in the last 20 years. And there are over nearly 4 million truck drivers in the United States. Their driving jobs will soon be automated too. My community is home to thousands of longshore women and men who work the docks, moving 40% of all the imports that come through the United States at the ports of LA and Long Beach. Their jobs are threatened as more terminals automate, which is why in my city I'm working to create a blue ribbon commission to study and report on the effects of automation at America's largest port complex and beyond. The fact is, colleagues, technology should be used to create jobs, not kill them. Together, we stand at the threshold of opportunity to breathe new life into cities, towns, and villages that have been weathering the storm of globalization and economic decline. An opportunity to invest in our workforce and build partnerships with the private sector. In order to meet these challenges and create opportunities for people in our communities, we must ensure that the innovation economy is fueled by the American worker, by the inventor, the entrepreneur, the local leader, and looking toward the same future. Many of our peers are leading the way. Whether it's in Pittsburgh, where Mayor Pedro is transforming the former steel city into a thriving healthcare and technology hub, or in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where my friend Mayor Andy Burke is leveraging the city's 10-gigabyte network into a true city of the future with an innovation-driven economy. All across the country, local leaders are stepping up and choosing to invest in innovation instead of getting stuck in the past. And it can happen in so many other places if we work together and lead with urgency. Throughout 2020, we're going to challenge you to commit to your community's future by embracing policies, practices, and programs that ensure your community not only survives but thrives in the new economy. Now, the National League of Cities is already supporting over 100 cities that have embraced innovation and entrepreneurship through specific local commitments. We have worked with our partners at the Schmidt Futures Foundation and Kauffman Foundation to move this effort ahead. I look forward to working with each and every one of you to increase that number dramatically and expand the scope of this work. I'm also proud to announce today that National League of Cities will partner with the Ford Foundation on a new pilot initiative to help communities navigate shifts in the economy by developing innovative policies and partnerships that ensure workers experience more opportunity, security, and dignity. You can learn more about this at nlc.org/futureofwork. Now, we as local leaders can transform our communities through innovation, but we must lead with urgency. In 2020, I will lead with urgency on the issue of homelessness. I will lead with urgency as we strengthen the federal-local partnership. And I will lead with urgency and support your efforts to build innovation-driven economies. So blessed and proud to lead this organization that is inclusive, that represents all Americans. National League of Cities brings us all together and leads together. And at the end of my year as president, colleagues, I want each and every one of you to be able to say that you have been empowered to build a brighter future for the people you all represent. I want to close by thanking some very important people. First and foremost, my family. My wife, who has dedicated a lifelong of public service as a teacher, teaching our students for the LA Unified School District. My mother, I am who I am today because of the values she taught me, the importance of love, of having faith, of service, of respecting everyone, regardless of where you came from, what color skin, how much money you have in your pocket, who you love, how you pray. Foundation at home, love you. And of course, Clarence, your entire NLC team. But most of all, I want to thank all of you. This is an incredible organization. You all inspire me. You all humble me. You all motivate me to lead. I'm so blessed to know you. I'm so blessed to lead with you. And this year, we're going to lead with urgency. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.